Behind a restaurant's back alley, a 6-year-old girl discovered something that would expose a hidden truth. A deaf boy sat alone, hungry and crying, while his father built empires across the city. When she stepped forward to help him, using sign language his stepmother never bothered to learn, she had no idea her small act of kindness would unravel secrets that would change 4 lives forever. What was really happening behind closed doors? Could one child's courage be enough to break through walls of silence and neglect? This is a story about the unexpected heroes among us and the justice that comes when the right person finally sees the truth. If this story touches your heart, type Amen in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. Your support means the world to us. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Riverside District as 7-year-old Maya walked behind Romano's Italian restaurant, her worn sneakers making soft sounds on the pavement. Her mother had been sick for 3 months now, unable to work her shifts at the laundry service, and their savings had run dry weeks ago. Maya clutched the small container Mrs. Romano sometimes filled with leftover bread or pasta that would have been thrown away anyway. "Please let there be something today," she whispered to herself, her stomach growling softly. As she approached the back entrance where the kitchen staff usually left donations for those in need, Maya heard a sound that made her stop. Crying. Not loud sobbing, but the quiet, heartbroken kind that comes from someone who's learned that crying loudly brings more trouble than comfort. She turned the corner and saw him. A little boy, maybe 5 years old, sitting on the ground near the dumpster area. His clothes were expensive, she could tell, the kind with designer labels her mother pointed out in store windows. But his face was streaked with tears, and his small shoulders shook with silent sobs. Maya approached slowly. "Hey, are you okay?" The boy didn't respond. He didn't even look up. Maya moved closer and waved her hand in front of his face. That's when his red, swollen eyes finally met hers, and she understood. She had seen this before, at her school. The boy was deaf. Without hesitation, Maya's hands began to move. Her mother's best friend, Miss Patricia, was deaf, and Maya had been learning sign language since she was 4 years old. It had become second nature to her. "Why are you crying?" her hands asked gently. The boy's eyes widened with shock. His small hands moved frantically, desperately. "You can understand me?" "Yes," Maya signed back, sitting down beside him. "I'm Maya." "What's your name?" "Noah." His hands spelled out slowly. Then, as if a dam had broken, his hands started moving rapidly, telling his story. "My daddy doesn't know. When he leaves for work, she makes me stay in my room. She says I'm too much trouble. Today I was so hungry, and she said if I was hungry enough I could come here and find food in the trash. She dropped me off and said she'd come back in an hour." Maya's heart clenched. "That's not okay. That's really not okay, Noah. She says because I can't hear I'm not normal. She says Daddy shouldn't waste money on me when I'll never be like other kids." Noah's hands trembled as he signed. "She gives me very little food at home. She says I need to learn what real hunger feels like." Before Maya could respond, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Noah, get up right now." A tall woman in designer clothes and perfect makeup stormed around the corner, her heels clicking aggressively against the pavement. Her face was twisted with anger, but Maya noticed how she quickly arranged it into something more pleasant when she saw Maya there. "Noah, darling, I told you to wait by the car," the woman said with fake sweetness, not signing at all, knowing Noah couldn't hear her. She reached down to grab his arm roughly. Maya stood up, placing herself between them. "He told me what you've been doing." The woman's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Excuse me? Who do you think you are, you little—" "He told me you don't feed him, right? He told me you make him feel bad because he can't hear." Maya's voice was small but steady. "That's mean. That's really, really mean." "You have no idea what you're talking about," the woman hissed, abandoning her fake sweetness. "This is none of your business. Noah is my stepson, and I'll handle him however I see fit. Now move." "No," Maya said firmly, her hands signing to Noah behind her back. "Don't be scared. I won't let her hurt you." The woman's face flushed with rage. She reached past Maya, trying to grab Noah's wrist. "How dare a filthy little street rat tell me what to do with my own family?" Your family. A deep, authoritative voice froze everyone in place. Since when do family members treat each other like this, Vanessa? Maya turned to see a tall man in an expensive suit standing at the entrance to the alley. He was 32, maybe 33, with dark hair and eyes that held something between disbelief and growing fury. In his hand was his phone, and Maya realized with a start that it was pointed toward them, recording. Christopher! Vanessa's voice changed completely, becoming sweet and concerned. Darling. I saw everything. Christopher's voice was ice cold. I changed my route today. Something told me to drive through Riverside instead of taking the highway. I got out to get coffee from Romano's, and I heard shouting. He stepped closer, his eyes never leaving Vanessa's face. I've been standing here for 3 minutes, Vanessa. 3 minutes. And I heard every single word that came out of your mouth. Vanessa's face went pale. Christopher, you don't understand. That little girl attacked me. She was trying to... I have a video, Vanessa. And this little girl... He looked at Maya, with something like wonder, was defending my son, using sign language. Something you've refused to learn in the 18 months we've been married, despite me paying for classes, despite begging you to communicate with Noah. He walked past Vanessa, who stood frozen, and knelt down in front of Noah. His hands moved in sign language. Noah, son, I need you to tell me the truth. Has this happened before? Has she been treating you badly when I'm not home? Noah's small hands moved hesitantly at first, then faster, telling everything. The locked door, the small portions of food, the cruel words spoken where he couldn't hear, but could read on her lips. The time she'd pinched him hard where bruises wouldn't show. The constant message that he was worthless because of his deafness. With each revelation, Christopher's face grew darker, his jaw tighter. When Noah finished, tears streaming down his face, Christopher pulled his son into a tight embrace. Never again, he signed when he pulled back. I promise you, never again. He stood, turning to Vanessa with an expression that made even Maya take a step back. You're done. Pack your things. I want you out of my house by tonight. My lawyers will contact you about the divorce. You can't do this, Vanessa shrieked, her carefully constructed facade completely shattered. I signed a prenup that's airtight. You'll give me nothing. Actually, your prenup has a clause about abuse or neglect of Noah. With this video and Noah's testimony, you'll be lucky if I don't press criminal charges, Christopher said calmly. But I'm a father first, and I want my son as far away from you as possible, as quickly as possible. So here's what's going to happen. You leave quietly, you get nothing, and we never see you again. Or I call the police right now, press charges for child abuse and neglect, and you can explain to a judge why you were forcing a 5-year-old to look for food in a dumpster. Vanessa's face cycled through rage, fear, and calculation before settling on defeat. Without another word, she turned and walked away, her heels clicking rapidly as she disappeared around the corner. Christopher let out a long breath, then turned to Maya, who was still standing protectively in front of Noah. Thank you, he said softly. I don't know your name, but thank you. You saved my son today. Maya's eyes filled with tears she'd been holding back. I'm Maya. I couldn't let her be mean to him. Nobody should be mean to kids. Christopher noticed the container in her hand, the worn clothes, the thin frame. Understanding dawned in his eyes. Maya, why are you here behind the restaurant? Maya looked down. My mama is sick. She can't work. Sometimes Mrs. Romano gives me leftovers so we can eat. Something shifted in Christopher's expression. He made a decision in that moment, one that would alter the course of all their lives. Maya, how would you like to never have to look for leftovers again? How would you like to help me with something very important? Maya looked up, confused. Help you? But I'm just me. You're the person who saved my son. You speak his language. You showed more courage in 5 minutes than most adults show in a lifetime, Christopher said, kneeling to her level. I need to learn to be a better father to Noah. And I think you could teach me things I need to know. But first, I need to meet your mother. Would that be okay? Maya's eyes widened. You want to meet Mama? Very much, Christopher smiled, and it was genuine. And I'd like to make sure she gets the medical care she needs. No one who raises a daughter like you should have to suffer without help. As they walked toward the parking lot, Christopher carrying Noah and holding Maya's hand, none of them knew the whole truth yet. They didn't know about the connection between Maya's mother and Christopher's past. They didn't know about the secrets that would soon surface, and they didn't know that this chance meeting would reveal a twist of fate so profound it would redefine what family really meant. But in that moment, three people who had been alone in different ways had found each other. And sometimes that's exactly how the most extraordinary stories begin, with an unexpected encounter, a small act of courage, and the decision to choose kindness when cruelty would have been easier. The sun was beginning to set over Riverside District, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and in that golden light a new chapter was beginning for all of them. Maya's apartment was on the 4th floor of a building that had seen better days, but Christopher noticed immediately that despite the worn furniture and peeling paint, everything was spotlessly clean. The small space smelled of lavender and lemon, and children's drawings covered one wall in a colorful display. Mama, Maya called out softly as she opened the door. Mama, are you awake? A weak voice came from the bedroom. Maya, baby, is that you? I brought someone, Mama. Don't be scared, okay? He's nice. Christopher set Noah down gently, signing for him to wait in the living room, then followed Maya into the small bedroom. What he saw made his chest tighten. The woman in the bed was thin, too thin, with dark circles under her eyes and skin that seemed almost translucent. But when she saw her daughter, her whole face lit up with a love so fierce it was almost tangible. She couldn't have been more than 32, Christopher's own age, though illness had aged her. Then their eyes met and both of them froze. Christopher? Her voice was barely a whisper. Hannah? Christopher felt the world tilt. Hannah Rodriguez? Maya looked between them, confused. You know each other? Hannah struggled to sit up, her hands trembling. Maya, sweetheart, could you please give us a moment? Show Noah your drawings. Once the children left, Hannah and Christopher stared at each other in shock. It's been 7 years, Hannah said finally. 7 years since my father paid you to leave, Christopher finished bitterly. Since he told me you'd taken the money and disappeared. Since he made me believe you'd never cared about me at all. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. He told me you'd never want to see me again. He said you'd found someone from your own social class, someone appropriate. He gave me $50,000 and made me sign papers saying I'd never contact you or claim any connection to the Montgomery family. $50,000, Christopher repeated, his voice hollow. My father gave you $50,000 and told me you'd taken $500,000. He showed me fake bank statements, forged signatures. He made me believe you'd used me, that you'd been after my money the whole time. I was pregnant, Hannah whispered. I found out 2 days after he came to see me. I wanted to tell you, but the papers I'd signed. They said any attempt to contact you or claim paternity would result in legal action. I was 25, Christopher. I was terrified. And I didn't have the money to fight your father's lawyers. Christopher sank into the chair beside the bed, his mind reeling. Maya, she's mine? She's ours, Hannah corrected gently. She's 7. She's brilliant, kind, brave, everything good in this world. I named her Maya because it means dream in several languages, and that's what she was. The dream I got to keep when I lost everything else. Christopher's hands covered his face. All these years I had a daughter and I never knew. I married Vanessa trying to give Noah a mother, and all along. You have a son? Hannah asked softly. Noah. He's 5. His mother died in childbirth. Vanessa seemed kind at first, but Christopher's voice broke. I've been so blind. About everything. How sick are you? Christopher asked abruptly, looking at Hannah's frail form. Stage 3 lymphoma. I've been doing treatment, but... Hannah looked away. It's expensive. Really expensive. My insurance ran out 3 months ago. I've been choosing between medication and rent. Maya doesn't know how bad it is. That ends now, Christopher said firmly. I'm calling my personal physician tonight. You'll get the best care available, and you and Maya are moving. No, Hannah interrupted. Christopher, I appreciate the offer, but I can't just accept charity from you. Charity? Christopher's laugh was bitter. Hannah, Maya is my daughter. You're the mother of my child. This isn't charity. This is me trying to fix the damage my father did to all of us. Your father passed away, didn't he? Hannah asked quietly. I saw it in the news 2 years ago. Yes. And I found out so many things after he died. So many lies, so many manipulations. Christopher looked at her intently. He controlled my life, my relationships, my business decisions. It took me a year after his death to realize how much. Vanessa was someone he approved of before he died. I should have known she'd be wrong for me. A soft knock interrupted them. Maya peeked in. Mama, Noah wants to know if we have any crackers. He says he's really hungry. Hannah's face fell. Sweetheart, I think we might have a few left in the... I'll order food. Christopher stood quickly. What do you both like? Pizza? Chinese? Maya's eyes went wide. Really? Like real restaurant food? The simple question broke Christopher's heart. Yes, Maya. Real restaurant food. As much as you want. While they waited for the food, Christopher sat with both children in the small living room. He watched as Maya patiently signed with Noah, showing him her drawings, making him laugh with funny faces. Noah's whole demeanor had changed. The scared, crying child from the alley was gone, replaced by a bright, animated boy who was starved for kind attention. Maya taught me a sign, Noah signed to his father. Want to see? Of course. Noah's small hands made a gesture, and Maya giggled. Christopher's throat tightened as he recognized it, the sign for sister. Noah says I could be like a sister, Maya explained. Since I can talk to him and play with him, is that okay? It's more than okay, Christopher managed to say. It's perfect. When the food arrived, 3 large pizzas, breadsticks, salad, and dessert. Maya's eyes filled with tears. This is so much food, she whispered. We're going to make sure you always have enough, Christopher promised. But first, I need to talk to your mother about some things. Adult things. Do you think you and Noah could eat in here while I talk to her? As the children dug into the pizza with pure joy, Christopher returned to Hannah's room. I need to know everything. Your treatment, your prognosis, everything. Hannah took a shaky breath. The lymphoma is aggressive. Without intensive treatment, they give me 4 to 6 months. With treatment, possibly 2 to 3 years, maybe more. But the treatment costs about $15,000 per month, and that's not counting medications, hospital stays, complications. You'll get the treatment, Christopher said immediately. Money isn't an object. Christopher, I can't just... Hannah, listen to me! Christopher leaned forward intensely. 8 years ago, my father stole you from me. He stole our chance at a future together. He stole the first 6 years of my daughter's life from me. I can't get those years back, but I can fight for the years ahead. Not for him, not because of guilt, but because whether we're together romantically or not, we're family. Maya makes us family. And I take care of my family. Hannah wiped her eyes. She asks about her father sometimes. I never told her who you were. I said you didn't know about her, which was true. I said you were a good man who got lied to, also true. I never wanted her to hate you or think you'd abandoned her. She's extraordinary, Christopher said softly. The way she stood up to Vanessa today, the way she protects Noah, the way she signs with such patience. Hannah, you've raised an incredible human being under impossible circumstances. I did my best, Hannah smiled weakly. Even when we had nothing, I made sure she had love. I made sure she knew her worth wasn't in what we owned, but in who she was. I want to tell her, Christopher said suddenly. I want her to know I'm her father. Hannah was quiet for a long moment. She deserves to know, but Christopher, she's 6. We need to do this carefully. She's had stability in our life together, just the 2 of us. Adding you suddenly with Noah, with everything, we need to make sure we don't overwhelm her. You're right, Christopher agreed. We'll take it slow, but I want to be in her life, both their lives, really in it, not just financially supporting from a distance. Over the next hour they made plans. Christopher would arrange for Hannah to see his family's personal oncologist first thing in the morning. He would set up a trust fund for Maya's education and future. They would tell Maya the truth together when Hannah felt ready. "There's something else," Hannah said as Christopher prepared to leave. "The papers your father made me sign, do they still matter? Legally?" "No," Christopher assured her. "Those papers were obtained under duress and false pretenses. My lawyers will handle it. You don't need to worry about legal action." At the door, with Noah already asleep in his arms and Maya hugging her mother goodbye, Christopher paused. "Hannah, I want you to know something. What my father did, keeping us apart, lying to both of us, it was wrong. Unforgivably wrong. But if even one good thing came from this disaster, it's that I got to see the kind of mother you became. Maya is proof of your strength, your character, your love. He tried to paint you as someone greedy and selfish, but he was wrong. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met." Hannah smiled through her tears. "Go take care of your son. We'll talk tomorrow." As Christopher drove home with Noah, his mind was racing. In one day, his entire world had shifted. World. He'd discovered his wife's cruelty, met the woman he'd never stopped thinking about, and learned he had a daughter who'd been struggling while he lived in luxury just across the city. "Daddy?" Noah signed from the car seat. "Is Maya really going to be my sister?" Christopher met his son's eyes in the rearview mirror. "Would you like that?" "Yes." Noah's hands moved emphatically. "She's nice. She doesn't care that I can't hear. She talks to me like I'm normal." "You are normal, Noah. Different, but normal. And yes, Maya is going to be part of our family. I promise." What Christopher didn't know yet was that his promise would be tested in ways he couldn't imagine. Forces from his past and present were about to collide. Vanessa wasn't going to go quietly. His family's board of directors would have opinions about his sudden acquisition of a 6-year-old daughter from poverty. And there were secrets still buried, waiting to surface. But as he carried his sleeping son into their house, a large, beautiful home in the suburbs that had never quite felt like a home, Christopher felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The next morning would bring new challenges, new complications, new obstacles. But for the first time since his father's death, Christopher Montgomery felt like he was finally, truly awake and ready to fight for what mattered. In her small apartment across town, Hannah held Maya close. "Baby, Mr. Montgomery is going to help us. Is that okay with you?" "He seems nice, Mama." Maya yawned sleepily. "And Noah needs a friend." "I can be his friend." "You can be more than that," Hannah whispered. But Maya was already asleep. Tomorrow they would begin the conversation that would change everything. Tomorrow Maya would learn that the kind man who'd defended them was more than just a helper. He was her father. But tonight, for the first time in months, both Hannah and Christopher went to sleep with something that had been missing from their lives. A reason to believe that tomorrow could be better than today. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Dr. Patricia Reeves's office at City Medical Center. Hannah sat in the examination room, Maya in the waiting area with Christopher and Noah, as the doctor reviewed her test results and medical history. "Mrs. Rodriguez," Dr. Reeves said carefully, "I'm going to be direct with you. Your previous doctors did what they could with the resources available, but you've been undertreated for your stage of lymphoma. The good news is that we can start aggressive therapy immediately. The challenging news is that it's going to be intense, and recovery is going to take time." "How much time?" Hannah asked, her voice steady despite her fear. "With proper treatment, patients in your situation have a 75% 5-year survival rate. But you need to commit to the full treatment protocol: chemotherapy, possible radiation, medication, rest, and nutrition. No more choosing between medicine and rent. No more stress about money. Stress is counterproductive to healing. Dr. Reeves, I appreciate your optimism, but I'm a single mother with a 6-year-old daughter. I can't just stop worrying about money." Dr. Reeves smiled gently. "Christopher Montgomery is handling your medical bills. And from what he told me this morning, he's handling a lot more than that. Let him. Your job right now is to fight this disease and get well. Can you do that?" Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "I'm not used to accepting help." "Then it's time to learn. Dr. Reeves said kindly. For your daughter's sake, if not your own. In the waiting room, Maya was teaching Noah how to play a hand-clapping game, both children laughing silently as their hands met in rhythmic patterns. Christopher watched them with a mixture of joy and heartache. Every moment with Maya felt like a gift he didn't deserve and a reminder of all he'd missed. Mr. Montgomery? A nurse approached. Dr. Reeves would like you to join the consultation. Christopher squeezed Maya's shoulder. I'll be right back, sweetheart. Keep playing with Noah. In the examination room, Hannah looked fragile under the harsh fluorescent lights, but her spine was straight, her chin up. This was the woman who'd raised his daughter alone for 6 years. This was the woman who'd survived his father's manipulation and built a life anyway. Hannah's going to start treatment next week, Dr. Reeves explained. She'll need support, someone to drive her to appointments, help with daily tasks on days when she's weak, and someone to care for Maya when she's in the hospital for treatments. I'll be there, Christopher said immediately. Christopher, you have a company to run, Hannah protested. You can't just... I'm the CEO. I can arrange my schedule however I want, Christopher interrupted. Besides, I've been too hands-off with the business lately. It's time I delegated more and focused on what actually matters. Dr. Reeves looked between them with interest. There's clearly history here I don't know about, but whatever it is, you two need to work as a team now. Hannah, your best chance at beating this is reducing stress and following the treatment plan. Christopher, your role is supporting that goal. Can you both commit to that? They nodded, though neither met the other's eyes. After the appointment, Christopher drove them back to Hannah's apartment. We need to talk about logistics, he said as they settled at her small kitchen table while the children played in the living room. This apartment isn't suitable for someone going through chemotherapy. The stairs alone. Christopher, I've lived here for 4 years, it's fine. Hannah, please don't make this harder than it needs to be, Christopher said, frustrated. I'm not trying to control you or take over your life. I'm trying to help. There's a house on Riverside Lane. It's part of the Montgomery family properties, but nobody's living there right now. 3 bedrooms, 1 floor, a garden. It's 10 minutes from the hospital. You and Maya could stay there during your treatment. Stay in a Montgomery property? Christopher, that's practical, he cut her off. Hannah, I know you're independent. I know you've survived on your own for years, but right now you need to accept that you can't do this alone. Not if you want to beat this cancer. Not if you want to be here for Maya's 7th birthday, her 8th, her graduation, her wedding. Pride is a luxury you can't afford right now. Hannah's hands trembled on the table. You're right, she whispered. I hate it, but you're right. I've been so focused on maintaining our independence that I've been putting Maya at risk. If something happened to me, she'd have nobody. She'd have me, Christopher said quietly. She'll always have me now. But yes, let's make sure you're here to raise her. She needs her mother. When do you want to tell her? Hannah asked. About you being her father? Today, Christopher decided. The longer we wait, the harder it'll be. And I don't want to build our new relationship on a lie of omission. They called the children into the kitchen. Maya climbed into Hannah's lap while Noah sat close to Christopher, both children sensing the serious mood. Maya, sweetheart, we need to talk to you about something important, Hannah began, stroking her daughter's hair. It's good news, but it might be confusing at first. Maya looked up with her wide, dark eyes. Christopher's eyes, he realized now. Okay, Mama. You know how you've asked me about your daddy? Hannah continued gently. About why he wasn't here with us? Maya nodded slowly. You said he didn't know about me. You said someone told lies. That's right. Someone did tell lies. Hannah took a deep breath. Baby, Mr. Montgomery is your daddy. He's the man I loved a long time ago before you were born, and the lies kept us apart. But now he knows about you, and he wants to be your daddy, if that's okay with you. Maya's eyes went very wide. She looked from Hannah to Christopher and back again. Really? Mr. Montgomery is my daddy? Yes, sweetheart, Christopher said, his voice thick with emotion. I didn't know about you until yesterday. If I had known, I would have been here every single day, but I'm here now and I want to be your father, if you'll let me. Maya was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then in typical 7-year-old fashion, she asked the most practical question. Does that mean Noah is my brother? Christopher couldn't help but smile through his tears. Yes, you'd be his half-sister. Is that okay with you? Maya looked at Noah, who was watching the conversation intently, reading lips and body language since Christopher had stopped signing in his emotional state. Maya's hands moved. You're my brother now. For real. Noah's face lit up like the sun. For real? He signed back. Not just pretend? For real, Maya confirmed, then turned back to her mother. Mama, are you okay? You're crying. Happy tears, baby, Hannah assured her. These are happy tears. But wait, Maya's mind was working through the implications. If Mr. Daddy, she tested the word carefully, watching Christopher's reaction. When he smiled through his tears, she continued, If Daddy is here now, does that mean he can help us? With the food and Mama's medicine? Yes, Christopher said firmly. I'm going to help with everything. Your Mama is going to get better, and we're all going to be a family. It might be a little different than other families, but it'll be our family. Can I still live with Mama? Maya asked, a hint of worry in her voice. Of course, Christopher assured her quickly. Your Mama and I are figuring out the details, but you'll always be with her. I'm just going to be part of your life now, too. We'll have to find a good balance. Maya thought about this seriously. Okay, I think that's good. Mama needs help, and Noah needs a sister who can talk to him. And she paused, then threw her arms around Christopher's neck. I always wanted a daddy. Christopher held his daughter for the first time, really held her and felt something broken inside him start to heal. But their moment was interrupted by the buzzing of Christopher's phone. He glanced at the screen and frowned. I need to take this. It's my head of legal. He stepped into the hallway and Hannah could hear his voice growing sharp and angry. When he returned, his expression was dark. Vanessa is filing for an emergency custody hearing for Noah. She's claiming I'm an unfit father who abandoned my son with strangers while I pursued an affair. Hannah's face went pale. What? She's smart, Christopher said bitterly. She knows she violated the prenup and can't get money, so she's going for leverage. If she can get custody of Noah, she can use him to negotiate a settlement. Can she win? Hannah asked, pulling Maya closer protectively. Not if I can help it. I have the video of her behavior yesterday. But she's painting it as if I neglected Noah by leaving him with you two. People she's calling strangers of questionable character. Christopher's jaw clenched. She's attacking you to get to me. We need to go, Christopher said, gathering Noah. I have to meet with my lawyers, but Hannah, you and Maya should stay somewhere else tonight. Just in case Vanessa tries something vindictive. She knows where you live. Christopher, you're scaring me, Hannah said. Good. You should be cautious, Christopher said grimly. Vanessa comes from a powerful family. I don't think she'd physically harm anyone, but she'll use every legal and social weapon she has. Pack bags for you and Maya. You're coming to my house. But what about... No arguments, not on this. Christopher's tone left no room for discussion. My security system is the best available. You'll both be safe there while we sort this out. As they packed hastily, Maya's excitement about having a father was tempered by the worry she saw in her mother's face. Mama, is the bad lady going to hurt us? No, baby. Your daddy won't let that happen, Hannah said with more confidence than she felt. But as they drove toward Christopher's house, a sprawling modern home on 3 acres of land that made Maya's eyes go wide, Hannah couldn't shake her anxiety. She'd escaped the Montgomery family's manipulation once before, barely. Now she was walking right back into their world. The difference was that this time, she wasn't alone. She had Maya. She had Christopher, older and wiser than he'd been 7 years ago. And she had something to fight for beyond just survival. But the battle ahead would test all of them in ways they couldn't yet imagine. Vanessa's custody suit was just the beginning. Soon the entire Montgomery family legacy would come under scrutiny, and secrets that Christopher's father had buried deep were about to surface. In the back seat, Noah and Maya held hands, 2 children who'd found each other at exactly the right moment. They didn't understand the storm that was coming. They just knew that for the first time in their young lives, they weren't facing their struggles alone. And sometimes that knowledge is enough to make you brave enough to face anything. The custody hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks away, but those 14 days felt like an eternity. Christopher's legal team worked around the clock building their case while Vanessa's lawyers filed motion after motion, each one more aggressive than the last. Hannah and Maya had settled into Christopher's home, though Hannah insisted on keeping some boundaries. She and Maya took the guest suite on the opposite end of the house from Christopher and Noah's rooms. "We need to do this right," she told Christopher. "Not rush into playing house just because circumstances pushed us together." Christopher respected her wishes, though spending every evening with his newly discovered daughter and the woman he'd never stopped loving was both wonderful and torturous. They fell into a routine. Breakfast together, Christopher going to work while Hannah rested and the children played, afternoons in the garden, and family dinners where they all practiced sign language together. Maya bloomed in the new environment. She had her own room decorated in soft purples and yellows, shelves filling with books, and a closet with clothes that actually fit. But what changed most was the worry leaving her young face. She laughed more, played freely, and stopped checking the kitchen every morning to see if there was food. "Daddy, look," Maya called one afternoon running through the garden with Noah. Both children were covered in dirt from planting flowers. "We made a rainbow garden, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple." Christopher looked up from his laptop on the patio where he was working remotely. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. What kind of flowers are they?" Mrs. Chen said they're zinnias. She said they'll grow really tall. Maya's enthusiasm was infectious. Mrs. Chen, the housekeeper who'd worked for the Montgomery family for 20 years, had taken to Maya immediately. "That child has sunshine in her soul," she'd told Christopher. "After all the darkness Vanessa brought to this house, Maya is like opening windows and letting light in." But the light was about to face some serious darkness. The day before the custody hearing, Christopher's head of legal, Marcus Webb, called an emergency meeting. Christopher sat in his home office, Hannah beside him at his insistence as Marcus delivered the news via video call. "Vanessa's legal team has a new strategy," Marcus said grimly. "They're not just attacking your fitness as a parent anymore. They're attacking Hannah." "What?" Hannah's face paled. "They've dug up everything they could find. They're claiming that 8 years ago you were paid to leave Christopher, which they're framing as evidence of financial opportunism. They're saying you kept Maya's existence secret to ambush Christopher at a vulnerable time after his divorce. And they're implying that your illness is being used to manipulate Christopher emotionally and financially." "That's insane," Christopher exploded. "They're twisting everything." "I know," Marcus said. "But Christopher, there's more. They've found something. A document your father had drawn up 8 years ago. It's a statement Hannah allegedly signed saying she'd been having an affair with your father, not you, and that Maya could be his child, not yours." Hannah gasped. "What? That's a complete lie. I never signed anything like that." "We know," Marcus assured her. "We've already sent it to a forensic document examiner. The signature is forged. But Vanessa's team is going to present it to create doubt, to paint Hannah as someone willing to lie about paternity for money." Christopher's hands clenched into fists. "My father's poison is still spreading even from the grave." "There's one more thing," Marcus hesitated. "Vanessa's team is requesting a paternity test for Maya. They're arguing that until paternity is legally established, you have no standing to make decisions that affect Noah's exposure to unrelated children in the home." Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "They want to humiliate us. They want to make it look like I'm lying about Maya's paternity." "Let them request it," Christopher said firmly. "We'll do the test. When it proves I'm Maya's father, it'll destroy their entire narrative." "Christopher," Hannah said quietly, "Maya will have to know about this. She'll have to understand why strangers are questioning whether you're really her father. She's 6 years old." Christopher's anger deflated into anguish. "I know. But what choice do we have?" That evening, they sat Maya down in the living room. Noah was with Mrs. Chen, playing in his room, giving them privacy for the difficult conversation. "Maya, sweetheart, we need to talk about something that might be confusing," Hannah began, holding her daughter's small hands. "Is it about the court?" Maya asked. She was perceptive beyond her years. Is the bad lady trying to take Noah away? Yes, Christopher said, kneeling in front of her. And Maya, she's saying some not nice things about me and your mama. She's saying that maybe I'm not really your daddy. Maya's eyes widened. But you are? Mama said so. I am, Christopher assured her gently. But in court they need proof, so we're going to do a test, just a simple swab inside your cheek that will prove to everyone that I'm your biological father. Would that be okay? Maya's lip trembled. Why doesn't she believe us? Why is she being so mean? Because she wants something, Hannah explained carefully, and she thinks if she makes us look bad, she can get it. But sweetie, the truth is the truth. The test will show that Daddy is your father, and then everyone will know she was wrong. Will it hurt? Maya asked in a small voice. Not at all, Christopher promised. Just a quick swab like when the doctor checks for strep throat. Maya was quiet for a moment, then lifted her chin with determination that reminded Christopher achingly of her mother. Okay, let's do it. Then everyone will know she's a liar, and Noah can stay with us. The next morning, the courthouse was cold and imposing. Christopher had arranged for Mrs. Chen to stay with the children at home. Neither Maya nor Noah needed to be exposed to the hostile environment. But as Christopher and Hannah walked through the corridors, flanked by Marcus and his legal team, they could feel eyes following them. Vanessa sat on the opposite side of the courtroom with her lawyers, looking immaculate in a designer suit, her expression one of wounded innocence. When her eyes met Christopher's, he saw something there that chilled him. Cold calculation. Judge Patricia Morrison entered and the hearing began. For 3 hours, lawyers argued back and forth. Vanessa's team painted Christopher as a man who'd abandoned his son with strangers to pursue a romantic reunion with a former lover. They presented the forged document, suggesting Hannah had been involved with Christopher's father. They questioned Christopher's judgment in bringing unverified family members into Noah's life so quickly after removing his stepmother. Christopher's team countered with the video of Vanessa's treatment of Noah, testimony from neighbors who'd heard her yelling at the child, and documentation of Christopher's consistent and loving care for his son. They presented evidence that Hannah's signature on the suspicious document was forged and filed for sanctions against Vanessa's lawyers for presenting fraudulent evidence. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for: the paternity test results. Marcus stood. Your Honor, we have the results of the paternity test performed 3 days ago on Mr. Montgomery and the minor child, Maya Rodriguez. The courtroom fell silent. The results show a 99% probability that Christopher Montgomery is the biological father of Maya Rodriguez. The words hung in the air. Vanessa's face twitched, her careful composure cracking slightly. Her lead attorney whispered urgently to her. Judge Morrison looked at the results, then at Vanessa's legal team. Counselors, you presented a document claiming this child's paternity was in question. That document has been proven fraudulent. You've wasted this court's time with baseless accusations against Ms. Rodriguez. Do you have any legitimate concerns regarding Mr. Montgomery's custody of his son? Or was this entire proceeding simply a retaliatory measure? Vanessa's lawyer stood. Your Honor, we'd like to request a recess to review our position. Denied, Judge Morrison said sharply. You've had ample time to prepare your case. If you have legitimate evidence of harm to the child Noah Montgomery in his father's care, present it now. The lawyer hesitated, then sat down. No further evidence at this time, Your Honor. Judge Morrison's expression was stern. Then let me be very clear. I've reviewed the video evidence presented by Mr. Montgomery showing Ms. Vanessa's treatment of young Noah. I've read the testimony from neighbors and household staff, and I've seen the medical reports documenting that Noah has actually gained weight and shown improved emotional affect since being in his father's sole custody. She turned to Vanessa directly. Ms. Vanessa, you've attempted to use this child as leverage in what should have been a straightforward divorce proceeding. You've presented fraudulent documents to this court, and you've made serious, unfounded allegations against a woman whose only crime appears to be raising her daughter while battling cancer. Vanessa stood. Your Honor, if I could— You may not, Judge Morrison cut her off. I'm granting Mr. Montgomery full legal and physical custody of Noah Montgomery. You are denied all visitation rights unless and until you complete a court-ordered psychological evaluation and parenting classes. Furthermore, I'm ordering you to pay Mr. Montgomery's legal fees for this proceeding. We're adjourned." The gavel fell. It was over. Christopher let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Beside him, Hannah was crying quietly. Marcus patted Christopher on the shoulder. "Congratulations. You won." But as they left the courthouse, Christopher noticed Vanessa standing near her car, phone pressed to her ear, her expression venomous. Something about her body language set off alarm bells. "Marcus, get them home safely," Christopher said quietly. "I need to make a call." Back at the house, Maya and Noah mobbed them at the door. "Did we win?" Maya asked. "Can Noah stay?" "We won," Christopher confirmed, lifting both children into his arms. "Noah isn't going anywhere." Noah's hands moved rapidly in sign language. "Forever? I can stay forever?" "Forever," Christopher signed back firmly. That night, after the children were finally asleep, Christopher found Hannah standing on the back patio, looking out at the garden where Maya and Noah had planted their flowers. "Thank you," she said softly as he joined her, "for fighting for them, for all of us." "Hannah, you don't need to thank me for—" "Yes, I do," she interrupted, turning to face him. "Christopher, you could have just provided financial support. You could have arranged everything from a distance, kept your life separate. Instead, you opened your home, you fought a legal battle, you made yourself vulnerable to attacks on your character and your business. You did all of that for a daughter you'd known existed for 2 weeks and for me, someone your father tried to erase from your life." "Hannah," Christopher said, taking her hands carefully, "8 years ago I was going to ask you to marry me. I had a ring. I had plans. And then my father told me you'd left with a fortune, and I believed him because I was young and stupid and too trusting of the man who'd raised me. But even after I thought you'd betrayed me, even after I married Vanessa trying to forget you, I never stopped wondering, what if my father lied? What if she really loved me? What if I gave up on the best thing that ever happened to me?" Hannah's tears fell freely. "I never stopped loving you. Even when I thought you'd chosen someone else, even when I was alone and pregnant and terrified, I never stopped." "Then let's not waste any more time," Christopher said. "I'm not asking for marriage tomorrow. I know we need to rebuild trust, figure out how we work as a family, let the children adjust. But Hannah, I'm asking for a real chance. Not just co-parenting, not just living in the same house temporarily. A real chance at being together, the way we should have been 8 years ago." Hannah looked into his eyes for a long moment, then nodded. "A real chance. But slowly. For the children's sake. For everyone's sake," Christopher agreed. "We've got time now. Your treatment is going well. The doctors are optimistic. We have years ahead of us to do this right." He leaned down slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, and kissed her gently. It was tentative and sweet, nothing like the passionate kisses they'd shared as young lovers. This kiss was a promise of patience, of commitment, of taking the time to heal old wounds before making new memories. When they pulled apart, Hannah smiled. "Slowly, slowly," Christopher agreed. What none of them knew was that across town, Vanessa was making a phone call that would set in motion one final revelation, though not the one she intended. Little Girl Stopped the Deaf CEO's Son from Eating Leftovers, chapters 04-06-04. The custody hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks away, but those 14 days felt like an eternity. Christopher's legal team worked around the clock building their case while Vanessa's lawyers filed motion after motion, each one more aggressive than the last. Hannah and Maya had settled into Christopher's home, though Hannah insisted on keeping some boundaries. She and Maya took the guest suite on the opposite end of the house from Christopher and Noah's rooms. "We need to do this right," she told Christopher. "Not rush into playing house just because circumstances pushed us together." Christopher respected her wishes, though spending every evening with his newly discovered daughter and the woman he'd never stopped loving was both wonderful and torturous. They fell into a routine. Breakfast together, Christopher going to work while Hannah rested and the children played, afternoons in the garden, and family dinners where they all practiced sign language together. Maya bloomed in the new environment. She had her own room decorated in soft purples and yellows, shelves filling with books, and a closet with clothes that actually fit. But what changed most was the worry leaving her young face. She laughed more, played freely, and stopped checking the kitchen every morning to see if there was food. "Daddy, look," Maya called one afternoon running through the garden with Noah. Both children were covered in dirt from planting flowers. "We made a rainbow garden, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple." Christopher looked up from his laptop on the patio where he was working remotely. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. What kind of flowers are they?" Mrs. Chen said they're zinnias. She said they'll grow really tall. Maya's enthusiasm was infectious. Mrs. Chen, the housekeeper who'd worked for the Montgomery family for 20 years, had taken to Maya immediately. "That child has sunshine in her soul," she'd told Christopher. "After all the darkness Vanessa brought to this house, Maya is like opening windows and letting light in." But the light was about to face some serious darkness. The day before the custody hearing, Christopher's head of legal, Marcus Webb, called an emergency meeting. Christopher sat in his home office, Hannah beside him at his insistence as Marcus delivered the news via video call. "Vanessa's legal team has a new strategy," Marcus said grimly. "They're not just attacking your fitness as a parent anymore. They're attacking Hannah." "What?" Hannah's face paled. "They've dug up everything they could find. They're claiming that 8 years ago you were paid to leave Christopher, which they're framing as evidence of financial opportunism. They're saying you kept Maya's existence secret to ambush Christopher at a vulnerable time after his divorce. And they're implying that your illness is being used to manipulate Christopher emotionally and financially." "That's insane," Christopher exploded. "They're twisting everything." "I know," Marcus said. "But Christopher, there's more. They've found something. A document your father had drawn up 8 years ago. It's a statement Hannah allegedly signed saying she'd been having an affair with your father, not you, and that Maya could be his child, not yours." Hannah gasped. "What? That's a complete lie. I never signed anything like that." "We know," Marcus assured her. "We've already sent it to a forensic document examiner. The signature is forged. But Vanessa's team is going to present it to create doubt, to paint Hannah as someone willing to lie about paternity for money." Christopher's hands clenched into fists. "My father's poison is still spreading even from the grave." "There's one more thing," Marcus hesitated. "Vanessa's team is requesting a paternity test for Maya. They're arguing that until paternity is legally established, you have no standing to make decisions that affect Noah's exposure to unrelated children in the home." Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "They want to humiliate us. They want to make it look like I'm lying about Maya's paternity." "Let them request it," Christopher said firmly. "We'll do the test. When it proves I'm Maya's father, it'll destroy their entire narrative." "Christopher," Hannah said quietly, "Maya will have to know about this. She'll have to understand why strangers are questioning whether you're really her father. She's 6 years old." Christopher's anger deflated into anguish. "I know. But what choice do we have?" That evening, they sat Maya down in the living room. Noah was with Mrs. Chen, playing in his room, giving them privacy for the difficult conversation. "Maya, sweetheart, we need to talk about something that might be confusing," Hannah began, holding her daughter's small hands. "Is it about the court?" Maya asked. She was perceptive beyond her years. "Is the bad lady trying to take Noah away?" "Yes," Christopher said, kneeling in front of her. "And Maya, she's saying some not nice things about me and your mama. She's saying that maybe I'm not really your daddy." Maya's eyes widened. "But you are." "Mama said so." "I am," Christopher assured her gently. "But in court they need proof, so we're going to do a test, just a simple swab inside your cheek that will prove to everyone that I'm your biological father. Would that be okay?" Maya's lip trembled. Why doesn't she believe us? Why is she being so mean? "Because she wants something," Hannah explained carefully, "and she thinks if she makes us look bad, she can get it. But sweetie, the truth is the truth. The test will show that Daddy is your father, and then everyone will know she was wrong." "Will it hurt?" Maya asked in a small voice. "Not at all," Christopher promised. "Just a quick swab like when the doctor checks for strep throat." Maya was quiet for a moment, then lifted her chin with determination that reminded Christopher achingly of her mother. "Okay, let's do it. Then everyone will know she's a liar, and Noah can stay with us." The next morning, the courthouse was cold and imposing. Christopher had arranged for Mrs. Chen to stay with the children at home. Neither Maya nor Noah needed to be exposed to the hostile environment. But as Christopher and Hannah walked through the corridors, flanked by Marcus and his legal team, they could feel eyes following them. Vanessa sat on the opposite side of the courtroom with her lawyers, looking immaculate in a designer suit, her expression one of wounded innocence. When her eyes met Christopher's, he saw something there that chilled him. Cold calculation. Judge Patricia Morrison entered and the hearing began. For 3 hours, lawyers argued back and forth. Vanessa's team painted Christopher as a man who'd abandoned his son with strangers to pursue a romantic reunion with a former lover. They presented the forged document, suggesting Hannah had been involved with Christopher's father. They questioned Christopher's judgment in bringing unverified family members into Noah's life so quickly after removing his stepmother. Christopher's team countered with the video of Vanessa's treatment of Noah, testimony from neighbors who'd heard her yelling at the child, and documentation of Christopher's consistent and loving care for his son. They presented evidence that Hannah's signature on the suspicious document was forged and filed for sanctions against Vanessa's lawyers for presenting fraudulent evidence. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for: the paternity test results. Marcus stood. "Your Honor, we have the results of the paternity test performed 3 days ago on Mr. Montgomery and the minor child, Maya Rodriguez." The courtroom fell silent. "The results show a 99% probability that Christopher Montgomery is the biological father of Maya Rodriguez." The words hung in the air. Vanessa's face twitched, her careful composure cracking slightly. Her lead attorney whispered urgently to her. Judge Morrison looked at the results, then at Vanessa's legal team. "Counselors, you presented a document claiming this child's paternity was in question. That document has been proven fraudulent. You've wasted this court's time with baseless accusations against Ms. Rodriguez. Do you have any legitimate concerns regarding Mr. Montgomery's custody of his son? Or was this entire proceeding simply a retaliatory measure?" Vanessa's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we'd like to request a recess to review our position." "Denied," Judge Morrison said sharply. "You've had ample time to prepare your case. If you have legitimate evidence of harm to the child Noah Montgomery in his father's care, present it now." The lawyer hesitated, then sat down. "No further evidence at this time, Your Honor." Judge Morrison's expression was stern. "Then let me be very clear. I've reviewed the video evidence presented by Mr. Montgomery showing Ms. Vanessa's treatment of young Noah. I've read the testimony from neighbors and household staff, and I've seen the medical reports documenting that Noah has actually gained weight and shown improved emotional affect since being in his father's sole custody." She turned to Vanessa directly. "Ms. Vanessa, you've attempted to use this child as leverage in what should have been a straightforward divorce proceeding. You've presented fraudulent documents to this court, and you've made serious, unfounded allegations against a woman whose only crime appears to be raising her daughter while battling cancer." Vanessa stood. "Your Honor, if I could—" "You may not," Judge Morrison cut her off. "I'm granting Mr. Montgomery full legal and physical custody of Noah Montgomery. You are denied all visitation rights unless and until you complete a court-ordered psychological evaluation and parenting classes. Furthermore, I'm ordering you to pay Mr. Montgomery's legal fees for this proceeding. We're adjourned." The gavel fell. It was over. Christopher let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Beside him, Hannah was crying quietly. Marcus patted Christopher on the shoulder. "Congratulations. You won." But as they left the courthouse, Christopher noticed Vanessa standing near her car, phone pressed to her ear, her expression venomous. Something about her body language set off alarm bells. "Marcus, get them home safely," Christopher said quietly. "I need to make a call." Back at the house, Maya and Noah mobbed them at the door. "Did we win?" Maya asked. "Can Noah stay?" "We won," Christopher confirmed, lifting both children into his arms. "Noah isn't going anywhere." Noah's hands moved rapidly in sign language. "Forever? I can stay forever?" "Forever," Christopher signed back firmly. That night, after the children were finally asleep, Christopher found Hannah standing on the back patio, looking out at the garden where Maya and Noah had planted their flowers. "Thank you," she said softly as he joined her, "for fighting for them, for all of us." "Hannah, you don't need to thank me for—" "Yes, I do," she interrupted, turning to face him. "Christopher, you could have just provided financial support. You could have arranged everything from a distance, kept your life separate. Instead, you opened your home, you fought a legal battle, you made yourself vulnerable to attacks on your character and your business. You did all of that for a daughter you'd known existed for 2 weeks and for me, someone your father tried to erase from your life." "Hannah," Christopher said, taking her hands carefully, "8 years ago I was going to ask you to marry me. I had a ring. I had plans. And then my father told me you'd left with a fortune, and I believed him because I was young and stupid and too trusting of the man who'd raised me. But even after I thought you'd betrayed me, even after I married Vanessa trying to forget you, I never stopped wondering, what if my father lied? What if she really loved me? What if I gave up on the best thing that ever happened to me?" Hannah's tears fell freely. "I never stopped loving you. Even when I thought you'd chosen someone else, even when I was alone and pregnant and terrified, I never stopped." "Then let's not waste any more time," Christopher said. "I'm not asking for marriage tomorrow. I know we need to rebuild trust, figure out how we work as a family, let the children adjust. But Hannah, I'm asking for a real chance. Not just co-parenting, not just living in the same house temporarily. A real chance at being together, the way we should have been 8 years ago." Hannah looked into his eyes for a long moment, then nodded. "A real chance. But slowly. For the children's sake." "For everyone's sake," Christopher agreed. "We've got time now. Your treatment is going well. The doctors are optimistic. We have years ahead of us to do this right." He leaned down slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, and kissed her gently. It was tentative and sweet, nothing like the passionate kisses they'd shared as young lovers. This kiss was a promise of patience, of commitment, of taking the time to heal old wounds before making new memories. When they pulled apart, Hannah smiled. "Slowly, slowly," Christopher agreed. What none of them knew was that across town, Vanessa was making a phone call that would set in motion one final revelation, though not the one she intended. 05. 2 months passed in what felt like a dream. Hannah's treatment was progressing well, and while the chemotherapy made her tired and nauseous, she was responding better than doctors had initially hoped. Maya had started at a new school, a private academy where Christopher served on the board, and was thriving academically and socially. Noah was attending the same school, in special education classes designed for deaf and hard-of-hearing students, and his confidence had grown remarkably. Christopher had officially acknowledged Maya as his daughter in all legal documents, set up trust funds for both children's futures, and was in the process of making his relationship with Hannah official. They'd gone on actual dates, dinners, walks in the park, even a weekend trip to the beach where the children had played in the waves while Christopher and Hannah walked hand in hand along the shore. "I could get used to this," Hannah had said, leaning her head on his shoulder. "Then let's make it permanent," Christopher had replied. "Move into the house officially, not as guests but as family." "Christopher." "I know, slowly," he'd smiled. "But Hannah, you and Maya have been living there for 2 months. The kids call each other brother and sister. Mrs. Chen has already started calling you Mrs. Montgomery, even though I've corrected her a dozen times. The only difference between what we have now and being official is paperwork and rings." Hannah had laughed. "Is that a proposal?" "Not yet," Christopher had promised. "When I propose, you'll know. It'll be special. But I'm saying, think about it. Please." Hannah had been thinking about it. Despite everything they'd been through, despite the years apart and the pain of separation, Being with Christopher felt right. Natural. Like coming home after a long journey. But their peace was about to be shattered. It started with a phone call to Christopher's office from Marcus Webb. "Christopher, we have a problem. A big one." "What kind of problem?" "Vanessa filed a lawsuit. Not against you, against your father's estate. She's claiming that your father promised her a significant settlement if she married you and provided him with additional heirs to the Montgomery line. She's alleging that before he died, he verbally agreed to transfer several properties to her if she fulfilled her end of the bargain." Christopher felt his blood run cold. "That's ridiculous. My father barely tolerated Vanessa." "Maybe. But she has witnesses, employees who worked for your father, people who claim to have overheard conversations. And Christopher, here's where it gets worse. If she wins this lawsuit, she gets access to discovery. She can subpoena records, force depositions, dig into every aspect of your father's business dealings." "So?" "So," Marcus said carefully, "your father wasn't always ethical in his business practices. We both know that. If Vanessa's lawyers start digging, they might find things that could damage the company, hurt shareholders, even expose you to legal liability for things your father did." "I've spent 2 years cleaning up his messes," Christopher said angrily. "I've made restitution where I could, settled cases quietly, reformed our practices." "I know. But there are still skeletons in closets, and Vanessa knows it. Christopher, I think this is a shakedown. She lost the custody battle, so now she's going after money a different way. She figures you'll settle quietly to avoid discovery." Christopher was silent for a moment. "Set up a meeting, her lawyers and ours. Let's hear what she really wants." The meeting took place 3 days later in a neutral law office. Vanessa sat across the table from Christopher, looking smug and confident. Her lead attorney, a shark named Richard Kellerman, opened negotiations. "My client is willing to drop the lawsuit against the Montgomery estate in exchange for a settlement of $20 million, the deed to the property on Riverside Lane, and a formal public apology from Christopher Montgomery for defamation of character." Christopher nearly laughed. "You can't be serious." "Ooh." "We're very serious," Kellerman said smoothly. "The alternative is a very public trial where some uncomfortable truths about the Montgomery family business practices come to light. I'm sure your shareholders would be very interested to hear about some of your father's more creative accounting methods." "This is extortion," Marcus said flatly. "This is negotiation," Kellerman countered, "and Mr. Montgomery would be wise to accept it. $20 million is nothing to a billionaire, and the Riverside property is one small house. Consider it a very reasonable price for peace." Christopher looked at Vanessa. "Why? You signed a prenup. You knew what you were getting into." "I earned that money," Vanessa said coldly. 2 years of dealing with your brat of a son, of playing the perfect wife, of putting up with your holier-than-thou attitude. I deserve compensation. You abused my child. I disciplined him when needed. You coddled him." Vanessa's mask was slipping, showing the ugly person beneath. "And now you're playing happy family with your street rat daughter and her dying mother. It's pathetic." Christopher stood abruptly. "We're done here. Marcus, let's go." "Christopher, wait," Kellerman said. "If you walk out of here without a deal, we file the lawsuit tomorrow. Discovery starts immediately. How long do you think your company's stock price stays stable when newspapers start reporting on legal troubles and questions about the integrity of Montgomery Industries?" Christopher turned back, his expression ice cold. "File your lawsuit. Dig all you want, because here's what you don't know, Kellerman. I've spent 2 years documenting every illegal and unethical thing my father did. I've got evidence, witness statements, financial records, everything. And I've been working with federal prosecutors to make sure that when everything comes out, it's on my terms, with immunity agreements in place protecting me and the current company from liability for my father's crimes." Vanessa's face went pale. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Test me." Christopher leaned forward. "You want to drag my family through the mud? Fine. But I'll make sure the world knows exactly what kind of person you are. That video of you mistreating Noah? That's going public. The forged documents you presented in court? Public. The witness statements from every household staff member who heard you scream at a 5-year-old deaf child? Public. By the time I'm done, you won't be able to get a job cleaning toilets, let alone maintain your social standing. You wouldn't dare, Vanessa hissed. The scandal would hurt you too. I don't care anymore, Christopher said, and meant it. 8 years ago, when my father manipulated Hannah and me, I would have cared about the family reputation more than the truth. But I've learned something since then. Truth and love matter more than appearances and money. You can't hurt me with the truth because I'm not afraid of it anymore. He walked to the door, then paused. You have 24 hours to drop the lawsuit and sign an agreement never to contact me, Noah, Hannah, or Maya again. If you do that, I'll give you $1 million, far more than you deserve, and you walk away. If you don't, I bury you. Your choice. As Christopher and Marcus left the building, Marcus let out a low whistle. That was either brilliant or insane. Probably both, Christopher admitted. But I meant every word. I'm done letting fear of scandal control my decisions. There's just one problem, Marcus said carefully. You told her you've been working with federal prosecutors. Christopher, have you actually started the process? Yes, completed it? Not yet, Christopher admitted. I've had preliminary conversations with the U.S. Attorney's Office about my father's tax evasion and fraud. They're interested, but we haven't formalized any agreements yet. So you bluffed. I accelerated my timeline, Christopher corrected. Call the U.S. Attorney's Office. Tell them I'm ready to cooperate fully and I need to move fast. If Vanessa calls my bluff, we need to be ready to follow through. That night, Christopher sat with Hannah in the living room after the children were in bed and told her everything. So we might be facing a public scandal, Hannah said when he finished. I'm sorry. I know you didn't sign up for this when you let me back into your life. Christopher, I didn't let you back into my life. You were never really out of it. You were always Maya's father, even when we didn't know it. Hannah took his hand. And if standing by you means facing scandal, I can handle it. I've faced worse. The press might come after you too. They'll dig into your past, our relationship 8 years ago. Let them, Hannah said firmly. We have nothing to hide. We loved each other. Your father separated us with lies, and now we've found our way back together. That's not scandal, that's a love story. Christopher pulled her close. How did I ever let you go? You didn't. Your father took me away, Hannah corrected. But I'm here now. We're here now. And whatever comes, we face it together. The next morning, Kellerman called Marcus. My client accepts Mr. Montgomery's offer. She'll sign the agreement and take the $1 million. Christopher felt relief, but it was tempered by suspicion. Just like that? She's giving up? Not exactly, Marcus said carefully. Her agreement has conditions. She wants the money wired immediately, and she wants the non-contact agreement to exclude any business events where you're both present. She's claiming she can't be barred from industry functions that might benefit her career. Fine, whatever, Christopher agreed. As long as she stays away from my family. The papers were signed 3 days later. Vanessa took her $1 million and disappeared from their lives, or so they thought. What none of them knew was that Vanessa's final act of spite, calling Noah's maternal grandmother and telling her about Christopher's new family, would lead to an unexpected letter arriving 2 weeks later. Christopher received the certified letter at his office. Inside was a package from a law firm in Portland, Oregon, with a note. Per the instructions of our late client, Jennifer Walsh Montgomery, this letter was to be delivered to you 5 years after her passing, or sooner if you remarried. As you have recently divorced and the 5-year mark has passed, we are fulfilling her final wishes. Inside was a letter in Jennifer's handwriting, dated 1 week before Noah's birth. My dearest Christopher, if you're reading this, I'm gone and our son is 5 years old. I'm writing this because you deserve the truth, even though it will hurt. Noah is not your biological son. Before I met you, I had a brief relationship with a man named Thomas Chen. He worked in your father's company. When I discovered I was pregnant, Thomas and I tried to figure out what to do. But your father found out. He threatened Thomas, said he would fabricate embezzlement charges and destroy him unless he left the country permanently. Thomas had no choice. He left to protect his mother, who also worked for your family. I was devastated and terrified. Then I met you at that charity gala, 3 months into my pregnancy. You were kind, genuine. And when I finally told you I was pregnant, you didn't run. You proposed. You said you'd love my child as your own. And Christopher, you have no idea how much that meant to me. I married you knowing you believed Noah was yours. I'm sorry for that deception. But I also married you because I truly loved you. You gave my son, our son, because love makes him ours, a father when his biological father was forced away. If something happens to me, please don't hate Thomas. He loved me, and he would have loved Noah. But he was trapped by your father's cruelty, just as so many others were. I've left information about Thomas in a sealed document with my lawyer. If you want to find him, you can. If you want Noah to know his biological father, that choice is yours. But please know this. Noah is your son in every way that matters. You chose him. You loved him. And that makes you his real father, regardless of DNA. I love you, Christopher. Thank you for giving me and my son a home, a family, and real happiness in the time we had together. Forever grateful, Jennifer. Christopher sat in his office, the letter shaking in his hands, tears streaming down his face. Not tears of betrayal, but tears of understanding. Jennifer had been another victim of his father's manipulation. Thomas had been forced away. And Noah, his Noah, was the innocent center of it all. He thought of Maya, a daughter he'd known about for only months but loved as if he'd been there from day one. He thought of the months he'd spent believing Noah was his without question, loving him, caring for him, becoming his father in every way that mattered. Blood didn't make family, love did, choice did. Love. But Noah deserved to know his full story, and Thomas deserved to know his son was alive, loved, and thriving. Christopher hired a private investigator to locate Thomas Chen using the information Jennifer's lawyer had provided. What they found was both sad and hopeful. Mr. Montgomery, the investigator said during their meeting, Thomas Chen has been living in Japan for the past 6 years, working as an accountant. He sends money to his mother regularly. Your housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, though he's never told her why he left or about his relationship with Jennifer. He believes both Jennifer and the baby died, because that's what your father told him before forcing him to leave the country. Chen? Christopher's mind raced. Is he related to Mrs. Chen, your housekeeper? Yes. Thomas is her son. He left the country 5 years ago and hasn't been back since, according to Mrs. Chen. He left right around the time Noah was born, and she never knew why. Christopher felt the world tilt. Mrs. Chen, who'd worked for his family for 20 years, who'd helped raise him, who now loved Maya and Noah like grandchildren. Her son was Noah's biological father, and she didn't even know her grandson was alive. There's more, the investigator continued. Thomas left because your father found out about his relationship with Jennifer and her pregnancy. Your father gave him a choice. Leave the country permanently with a payment of $200,000 and be told the baby died, or face criminal charges for embezzlement your father would fabricate. Thomas chose to protect his mother from the scandal and left, believing he'd lost both Jennifer and his child. Of course he did, Christopher said bitterly. His father's manipulation knew no bounds, even from the grave. That evening, Christopher called Mrs. Chen into his office. The elderly woman looked nervous, clearly sensing something serious was happening. Mrs. Chen, I need to talk to you about your son. Her face crumpled. I know Thomas is Noah's biological father. I know my father forced him to leave. What I don't know is why you never said anything. Mrs. Chen sat down heavily. Because Jennifer made me promise. She came to me when she was pregnant crying. She told me what your father had done to my Thomas. She said she'd met you and fallen in love with you, and that you were going to marry her and raise the baby as your own. She begged me not to tell anyone the truth, not you, not Thomas, no one. She said the baby would be safer with you as a father, with your protection, than being connected to a man your father had threatened and destroyed. Did you know Thomas believed the baby had died? Christopher asked gently. Mrs. Chen's face crumpled. Not at first. Not until 2 years ago, when Thomas finally called me after years of silence. He told me your father had told him Jennifer and the baby both died in childbirth, and that's why he had to leave. To spare everyone the pain. By then, Noah was already 3 years old and calling you Daddy. I didn't know what to do, I was so afraid of what your father might do if he found out I'd kept in contact with Thomas. Christopher felt anger and compassion warring inside him. Mrs. Chen, I'm not angry with you. My father was a master manipulator who hurt everyone around him. Jennifer's letter explained everything. But I need to know, do you want to contact Thomas? To tell him his son is alive? Mrs. Chen's eyes filled with tears. More than anything but Mr. Christopher, that child has been through so much already. Finding out you're not his biological father will change nothing about how I feel about him. Christopher interrupted firmly. Noah is my son. I chose him, I've raised him, and I love him. Jennifer's letter made that clear. I'm his real father because I chose to be. But he also deserves to know about Thomas, to have the chance to know his biological father, and to know that his grandmother has been with him all along. If Thomas wants to be part of Noah's life, I'll welcome him. My father stole 6 years of Thomas's life. I won't steal anymore. Over the next 2 weeks, Christopher worked with Mrs. Chen to contact Thomas. The young man, only 31 years old, had been living in Japan, working as an accountant, sending money to his mother whenever he could, and carrying the guilt and grief of believing he'd lost both the woman he loved and their child. When Thomas video called for the first time, Christopher saw a man who looked exhausted, haunted, and disbelieving. Mr. Montgomery, I don't understand. Your investigator said. He said my son is alive? That Jennifer raised him with you? Jennifer died in childbirth, Thomas. I'm sorry, but Noah, your son, is alive, healthy, and loved. My father lied to you. He told you they both died to make sure you'd never come back. But Noah is here, and he's thriving. And if you want to be part of his life, I'm offering you that chance. Even though he's not biologically yours? Especially because he's not biologically yours, Christopher said. Because that means I chose to be his father and you didn't choose to leave. We were both victims of my father's manipulation. It's time to set things right. Telling Noah the truth was the hardest thing Christopher had ever done. He and Hannah sat down with the 5-year-old, with Mrs. Chen present, and explained everything in simple terms a child could understand. So Mr. Thomas is my real daddy? Noah signed, confused. He's your biological father, Christopher signed back carefully. That means he helped make you. But Noah, I'm your daddy. I've taken care of you, I love you, and that's never going to change. You're my son and you always will be. Mr. Thomas just means you have more people who love you. Like Maya has mama and daddy? Noah asked. Exactly like that, Christopher confirmed. And Mrs. Chen is my real grandma? Mrs. Chen started crying. Yes, sweetheart, I'm your grandma. Noah processed this for a moment, then signed. Okay. So I have Daddy Christopher, Daddy Thomas, Grandma Chen, Maya as my sister, and Hannah as my... He paused, looking at Hannah curiously. Hannah signed back gently. What would you like me to be? Noah thought seriously. Then his small hands moved. Mama Hannah? Hannah burst into tears and pulled Noah into a hug. Christopher wrapped his arms around both of them, and Maya jumped up from where she'd been sitting quietly, joining the group hug. We're a family, Maya said firmly. A weird family, but a good family. Thomas arrived from Japan 3 weeks later. The meeting between father and son was emotional and beautiful. Thomas cried when he saw Noah for the first time, and Noah was shy at first but quickly warmed to the gentleman who looked so much like Mrs. Chen. I'm going to stay, Thomas told Christopher after spending a day with Noah. If that's all right with you, I'm going to find work here in the city. I want to be part of my son's life, even if it's just as the man who visits on weekends. You can be more than that, Christopher offered. Montgomery Industries needs a good accountant. I've checked your credentials. You're excellent at what you do. And maybe over time you and Noah can build a relationship that works for both of you. Over the next few months, their unconventional family grew and evolved. Thomas became a regular presence, attending Noah's school events, teaching him about Japanese culture and slowly building trust. Mrs. Chen glowed with happiness at having both her children, Noah and Maya, close by, along with her actual son. Hannah's cancer went into remission. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, giving her a strong chance of being cancer-free for years to come. Her strength returned, and with it, her vibrant spirit that had first captured Christopher's heart. One evening 6 months after the custody battle, Christopher took Hannah back to the alley behind Romano's restaurant where everything had begun. "Why are we here?" Hannah asked, confused. "Because this is where our story really started," Christopher said. "Not 8 years ago when we first met, but here. Where Maya's courage saved Noah. Where I finally saw the truth about my life and where fate brought us back together." He knelt down on one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. "Hannah Rodriguez, you are the strongest, most incredible person I've ever known. You raised an amazing daughter alone, battled cancer, survived my father's manipulation, and still found room in your heart to give me a second chance. I wasted 8 years not fighting for us. I'm not wasting another minute." He opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant ring. "Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that some love stories are worth waiting for?" Hannah laughed through her tears. "You're proposing in an alley behind a restaurant? I'm proposing in the place where everything changed, where my daughter showed me what real courage looks like, where I learned that family isn't about blood or money or social standing. It's about choosing to love people and fight for them." "Yes," Hannah said, pulling him to his feet. "Yes, 1,000 times, yes." They kissed there in the alley, both laughing and crying, while inside the restaurant Mrs. Romano watched through the window and smiled. She'd been the one who'd called Christopher 7 months ago, who'd suggested he drive through Riverside on his way home. Small acts of kindness rippling outward, changing lives. The wedding took place 1 year later in the garden, where Maya and Noah had planted their rainbow flowers. Those flowers had grown tall just as Mrs. Chen had promised, creating a wall of color behind the altar. The adoption papers for Maya had been finalized 3 months earlier, making her legally Christopher's daughter, though everyone knew she'd been his daughter from the moment they'd met. Maya served as flower girl, wearing a purple dress she'd helped choose. Noah was the ring bearer, walking proudly down the aisle with Thomas beside him, signing encouragement. Mrs. Chen cried happy tears in the front row. Christopher's vows included sign language, so Noah could understand every word. "I promise to be a father to both our children, a partner in all things, and to never let fear keep me from fighting for our family." Hannah's vows were simple and perfect. "I promise to remind you every day that we're stronger together than apart, to build a life full of love and laughter, and to teach our children that the most important things in life aren't things at all." As they sealed their vows with a kiss, Maya and Noah cheered, Noah making enthusiastic whooping sounds that made everyone laugh. The reception was a celebration not just of a wedding, but of a family that had been broken apart and pieced back together into something stronger than before. Vanessa's attempt to destroy them had ultimately freed them to build something real. Thomas gave a toast, his voice shaky with emotion. "To the father who loved my son when I couldn't be there, to the woman who raised her daughter to be a hero, and to the children who brought us all together. May we all be worthy of the second chances we've been given." Mrs. Chen added her own toast. "To unconventional families, to love that transcends biology, and to truth finally setting everyone free." As the sun set over the garden, Christopher held Hannah close, watching their children play with Thomas, Mrs. Chen hovering nearby with protective love. It wasn't the family he'd imagined 7 years ago. It was better, because this family had been tested and proven strong. This family had been built on truth and choice and courage. This family had survived manipulation, illness, legal battles, and revelations that would have destroyed weaker bonds. Maya ran up to them, breathless and happy. Now 8 years old, she'd grown taller, more confident, but still carried that same fierce courage that had saved them all. "Daddy, Mama, Noah wants to show you the new flowers we planted." "New flowers?" Hannah asked. "For our growing family," Maya said seriously. "Because Thomas said families are like gardens. They need tending and care, and they keep growing if you love them right." Christopher knelt down, pulling his daughter close. "That's very wise, Maya. Did I ever tell you that you saved all of us? That day in the alley when you stood up for Noah, you changed everything." "I just did what was right," Maya said with the simple morality of childhood. "That's what you do when you see someone being hurt. You help. As they walked toward the new flower bed, Christopher thought about how one small act of courage from a 7-year-old girl had unraveled secrets, exposed lies, and ultimately created a family stronger than any that had come before. The Montgomery legacy was no longer about money or power or social standing. It was about love, truth, and the courage to stand up for what was right even when, especially when, it cost you everything. And as Maya and Noah showed off their new rainbow garden, adding colors to the ones they'd planted before, Christopher understood the metaphor perfectly. Their family was like those flowers, a mix of different colors, different origins, different stories, but together creating something beautiful. The little girl who'd stopped to help a crying deaf boy behind a restaurant had done more than save one child's day. She'd saved 4 lives, healing wounds no one knew existed, and proving that sometimes the smallest people carry the biggest courage. And that courage had bloomed into a love story for the ages, one that started with a simple act of kindness and grew into a family that redefined what family could be. As stars appeared in the darkening sky above their garden, Christopher Montgomery held his wife close, watched his children play, and felt grateful for every moment that had led to this one. The journey had been painful, complicated, and messy, but it had been worth it. Every single moment had been worth it.